The power trick. CEOs use to control people and never get caught. You're already inside it. Before this video ends, you will agree with something you did not plan to agree with. Not because you are weak, not because you lack intelligence, but because the environment around you will make that agreement feel natural, logical, even inevitable. And when it happens, you will not notice the moment your decision was shaped. Pay attention to that, because what I am about to show you is not persuasion in the way you understand it. No pressure, no visible authority, no direct commands. Just a shift in how choices are presented, how context is built, and how your brain fills in the gaps without asking permission. And that is exactly how the highest level of power operates. CEOs do not control people by forcing outcomes. That is inefficient, visible, and easy to resist. Real control happens before the decision even appears in your mind. It happens in silence, in structure, in subtle signals that guide you toward one path while making all other paths feel wrong. Right now, you think you are just watching a video, but something else is happening. You are being guided through a sequence. Information is being revealed in a specific order. Certain ideas are being highlighted while others are being excluded. And without realizing it, your brain is already organizing this into a conclusion. You feel like you are thinking. But what if you are following? That is the trick. And once you see it, you start to understand something most people never realize. Control is not about what someone tells you to do. It is about what you believe makes sense to do. Now look at your last decision. Not the obvious one, the small one, the one you did not question, did. Where did it come from? Control doesn't look like control. You have been trained to recognize power in its most primitive form. Titles, authority, visible hierarchy, someone giving orders and someone obeying. That is the version of control people feel comfortable identifying because it is obvious. But that is not how real influence works at the highest level. In a corporate meeting, no one needs to say you must agree. Instead, the room is structured in a way where disagreement feels irrational. The data shown first frames the conversation. The options presented are not neutral, they are curated. The tone, the timing, even who speaks first, all of it builds a perception of what is reasonable before you even form an opinion. You are not being forced. You are being positioned. In product design, the same pattern appears. You are given choices, but those choices are engineered. One option feels safe. One feels risky. One feels like what people like you would choose. And without realizing it, you move toward the path that was designed to feel right. Inside companies, they call this culture. But culture is not what people believe. Culture is what people stop questioning. The smartest leaders understand something most people miss. You do not need to control behavior if you control the environment where behavior is formed. You do not need to convince people if you can shape what feels obvious to them. And that is where the real shift begins. Because once the environment is set correctly, people do not feel controlled. They feel aligned, from force to design. Power used to be loud, direct, visible. Someone gave the order, someone executed it, and everyone knew where control was coming from. That model still exists, but it is inefficient. It creates resistance, exposes intent, and limits scalability. So power evolved. The most effective leaders no longer rely on force. They design the conditions where force becomes unnecessary. They do not tell you what to do. They shape what feels like the right thing to do before you even get there. Think about how decisions happen inside high-level environments. No one walks into a room and says, "This is what we are going to do." Instead, the room is prepared. Data is selected. Narratives are framed. Certain risks are emphasized, others minimized. By the time options are discussed, the direction is already embedded in the context. You are not deciding freely. You are choosing inside a controlled frame. Old power depends on authority. New power depends on perception. If I control what you see first, what feels normal and what feels dangerous, I do not need to control you. You will adjust your behavior to match the environment because your brain is wired to seek coherence, not truth. This is where the real mechanism begins. It does not start at the moment of choice. It starts before the choice exists. In the way information is ordered, in the way attention is directed, in the way certain outcomes are made to feel inevitable. You think influence happens when someone speaks to you, but the real influence happens in silence, before the conversation even begins. And once you understand that, you start to see the next layer. The decision was never the point. The setup was the decision illusion. You think you are choosing. That is the surface. What is actually happening is selection inside a controlled architecture. Not control of your action, but control of what feels like a reasonable action. And once that layer is set correctly, your decision becomes predictable. There are three mechanisms operating at the same time. You rarely see them because they are designed to feel natural. The first is how choices are framed. In a strategy meeting, you are not given all possible directions. You are given a structured set of options that already carry emotional weight. One feels safe, one feels aggressive, one feels irresponsible. The extreme option exists only to make another option look balanced. You do not choose what is best. You choose what feels acceptable within the frame. That frame was not created by you. The second is default gravity. Most people do not actively decide. They follow what is already in motion. The pre-selected option, the existing process, the path that requires the least friction. This is why subscriptions renew, systems persist, and behaviors repeat. The strongest decision is not the one you make. It is the one you never question. And once a default is set, it does not need to convince you. It just needs you to not resist it. The third is social signal engineering. You look around, even subconsciously, to understand what others are doing. Not because you lack judgment, but because your brain uses consensus as a shortcut. When something feels aligned, approved, or already agreed upon, your resistance drops. You stop evaluating and start aligning. If it seems like everyone already accepted it, you do not want to be the one who did not. Now combine these three. A limited set of framed choices, a default that pulls you forward, a perception that others already agree. At that point, the outcome does not need to be forced. It emerges. And this is where most people miss the real danger, because nothing here feels like control. It feels like logic. It feels like your decision. Where this is actually used. Now remove the theory. Look at where this is happening in real environments where money, status, and power are on the line. Inside a boardroom, decisions are rarely spontaneous. Before anyone speaks, the outcome is already being shaped. The agenda defines what is relevant. The first presentation defines what matters. The metrics selected define what success looks like. By the time discussion begins, the room is no longer exploring possibilities. It is moving inside a pre-built path. No one forced the decision. The decision was constructed. In corporate culture, the same system operates with even more precision. People are not told how to behave directly. They observe what gets rewarded, what gets ignored, what gets quietly penalized. Promotions, recognition, subtle feedback, all of it signals what is acceptable. Over time, individuals adjust without being told. They align with what works inside that environment. It feels like personal growth. It is actually behavioral alignment. Performance reviews follow the same pattern. You are not evaluated only on results. You are evaluated on how closely your behavior matches the invisible model of what success looks like. That model is never fully explained. It is demonstrated through signals. And once you internalize it, you start self-correcting without external pressure. You become easy to guide. Then look at product ecosystems. Platforms do not tell you what to do. They design the path. What appears first? What is recommended next? What feels popular? What feels urgent? Every click leads to another controlled option. You feel like you are exploring. You are being directed. And here is the critical point most people never see. This is not about controlling actions. It is about controlling what feels like the smart decision. Once that perception is set, behavior follows automatically. It's not just CEOs. If you still think this is limited to executives in boardrooms, you are underestimating the scale of the system. What CEOs do in controlled environments, platforms do at global scale. Every time you open a social feed, you are not entering a neutral space. You are entering a designed sequence. What appears first is not random. What repeats is not accidental. What gains visibility is not necessarily what is true, but what is reinforced. The system is not trying to tell you what to think. It is shaping what feels important enough to think about. And once your attention is directed, your perception follows. What you see repeatedly becomes familiar. What becomes familiar starts to feel valid. What feels valid becomes part of your internal logic. At that point, no one needs to convince you. You will defend the conclusion as if it were yours. But the paths were designed long before you arrived. Advertising ecosystems refine this even further. They do not sell products. They shape desire. They expose you to patterns of status, success, and identity. They do not tell you what to buy. They make you feel what kind of person you should become. And once that identity is accepted, the purchase becomes obvious. This is why the most effective systems never feel aggressive. They feel natural. They feel aligned. They feel like reality. And that is the most dangerous part. Because when control feels like reality, you stop questioning it. You've been played. Now make this uncomfortable. Think about the last time you bought something you did not plan to buy. Not a big purchase. A small one. Something that felt justified in the moment. You had a reason. It made sense. It felt like your decision. Go one layer deeper. Where did that idea come from? Not the purchase. The desire. Because that is where the real shift happened. You did not wake up needing it. You were exposed to it. Repeatedly, subtly, in different contexts. It started to feel familiar, then reasonable, then necessary. By the time you acted, it did not feel like influence. It felt like clarity. Now look at your opinions, the ones you are certain about, the ones you defend without hesitation. Trace them back. Not to the argument, but to the first time they felt true. Was it a conversation, a piece of content, a pattern you saw repeated enough times that it stopped feeling like information and started feeling like reality? You did not adopt the idea consciously. You aligned with it. And then there are your goals, what you think you want, the lifestyle, the level of success, the definition of winning. Ask yourself a question most people avoid. Did you choose that? Or did you inherit it from the environment you were exposed to? Because the system does not need to control your actions directly. It controls what you aim for. And once your direction is set, your effort follows automatically. This is where the illusion breaks. You did not decide as freely as you think. You followed a path that was designed to feel like your own. And the moment you realize that, something shifts, not outside, inside your perception. How to see it before it happens. At this point, most people make a mistake. They try to escape influence completely. That is impossible. If you are inside any system, you are being influenced by it. The real advantage is not avoidance. It is awareness at the exact moment influence begins. And that moment is always earlier than you think. Start by looking at what is missing. When you are presented with options, your attention goes to what is there. That is the trap. Real control hides in what is not shown. The paths that were removed. The alternatives that never entered the frame. If you do not see the full set, you are not choosing. You are selecting from a curated list. Then examine the default. Ask yourself why this path is already in motion. Why this option requires no effort. Why this direction feels like the natural next step. Defaults are never neutral. They are placed. And once you step into them, momentum replaces thinking. Now shift to incentives. Every system is built around outcomes. Someone benefits when you move in a certain direction. Not in an abstract way, in a measurable way. Money, attention, control. If you cannot identify who gains from your decision, you are inside someone else's strategy. And finally, watch the emotional signal. When something feels obvious, urgent, or socially validated, pause. That feeling is not always truth. It is often the result of repeated exposure and controlled framing. The system is not forcing you. It is making resistance feel unnecessary. This is where power changes hands. Not when you reject influence, but when you recognize it before it stabilizes into your thinking. Because once a decision feels like yours, it is already locked in. And the only way to break that cycle is to see the design before you step into it. And now, watch yourself. At the beginning of this video, I told you something would happen. You would agree with something you did not plan to agree with. And you would not notice when it happened. So pay attention now, not to me, to yourself. At some point during this video, something shifted. A concept that felt abstract started to feel real. A pattern that seemed distant started to feel familiar. You stopped analyzing and started recognizing. And in that moment, you accepted the premise. Not because I forced you, because it made sense. That is the mechanism. I did not need to tell you what to believe. I guided what you saw first. I structured the sequence. I removed friction. I built context before conclusions. And by the time the idea reached you, it did not feel like influence. It felt like discovery. Now ask yourself a direct question. Did you just agree with me? Or did I design the path that led you there? Because that is the line most people never see. The difference between thinking and following is not in the decision. It is in the structure that came before it. And now you have a choice. You can go back to moving through systems without noticing how they shape you. Or you can start observing the invisible layer behind every decision you make. One path keeps you predictable. The other makes you dangerous.